Yeah, I think all of us are like, whoa.
Thank you for joining us today for our 12th episode of We Burn, We Rise. Today I'm joined by Hyperion and Rxbbn. We've got Steve and John from RYI, and we also have special guest GildedCzar and NoMad from Fate to discuss 3Pay. We're happy to have you with us today as we bring you updates and news from all across the Phoenix Initiative. Today we're going to be talking about governance, 3Pay, and our 3Pay partnership, as well as some updates involving the RYI staking before opening up the Q&A to the community. Keep in mind that the Q&A will be recorded, so we appreciate the community's adherence to keeping the discussion profanity-free. Don't forget to sign the form pinned in main to get your attendance NFT for this meeting. I'm going to start this by handing the baton over to Rxbbn.
Oh boy, that's me. Let's see here. So, as far as governance updates go, how much do we want to release today?
So let's talk a little bit. Let's is Mike here? Mike.
Yeah, it looks like he's here.
He's probably listening, but I think let's talk just a little bit detail about, we've been talking about this for months, right? Governance tokens, where we're going to go. Both communities have been very patient with us. Thank you for that. We have CPHX, we have GRT token, and I think we've reached a good decision that we can at least discuss a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a time, but we do have a decision.
Yeah, no, I can go into that decision. So basically, where we're at with the governance, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but we are looking at merging GRT and CPHX into one. What that will bring, and this is something Fluffy and I are working on. Him and I were up till 3 or 4 in the morning on Saturday working through some of the stuff with this. But because we know that both tokens have extremely different supplies, part of what we're looking at doing with the governance is we're going to basically allocate a percentage of the tokens for the new governance. Sorry, allergies are killing me today. We are looking at basically giving percentages of what you hold as of the snapshot that was taken a few days ago. That may change, but basically, let's say the supply is 1 million of the governance token, and somebody has 3% of GRT's supply, they would get 3% of the supply of the governance token. A couple things we're working through on that end are, one, the proper tokenomics for the new governance token, which, if anyone's dealt with governance tokens, it's a bit trickier than your average token. Requires a lot more features. It's not just like, oh, we have max supply, we have a tax, or anything like that. It requires a lot of different logic to actually interact with anything regarding the actual governance. So we have to add in a lot of features with that. Alongside that, I am also building out a DApp for the something that can be reused, but its main purpose in this case will be for airdropping, I think is the way we're going to be going. Airdropping the governance tokens to anyone that's currently holding CPHX or GRT. We're still working through some of the math as far as total supply, the specific tokenomics of it, other than the governance functions. But we are making good headway. I don't have an exact timeline for when we're going to have everything functional or when the airdrop will happen, depending on which route we go. But it is being worked on. Fluffy and I made some good progress this past weekend. I know he's out of town working this week, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to keep plugging away at the majority of it, and then when Fluffy's back, we'll hopefully get a little bit closer. Would have gotten more done sooner, but I just got back from vacation for my 10-year anniversary with my now wife we got back on Thursday. I lost my glasses in the ocean, so I'm wearing contacts right now, which is the first time I've worn contacts in 8 years. Oh, that was cute, Spaz.
Got a question for you on that.
Yeah.
What about GRT? I hold both wallets and on sex. So how does that work?
That's one of the logistical pieces we're going to work on figuring out. Because we're able to differentiate inside the holders lists for both. Basically, is this an exchange wallet? Yes or no. So when the time comes, we will start basically potentially putting out a form so people can verify their holdings, whether it's on their MetaMask, Trust Wallet, whatever, or if it's on a centralized exchange.
So, to recap for anyone that is listening, and we will talk about this probably in the next couple of weeks, this will happen. However, in the meantime, we did take that snapshot, but that doesn't mean go sell your bags now, because that's not a guarantee that we'll be using that snapshot. It's a preliminary snapshot. Please do not sell this just yet if you want your GPHX airdrop. Just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah, because basically the reason for the airdrop was to just get a rough idea so we could actually start working through the math. I wouldn't even call it a full snapshot. It's more, all right, these are how many holders we can immediately see. These are the percentages that each person holds. That way we can start figuring out the best way to tackle the entire problem. So we've got a couple of the pieces. We just need to finish filling out a couple of the other ones before we can even take the next step. So they're still going to have their current purpose is still valid. Their trading is going to stay the same. But we are starting to work on the next steps for governance, specifically on Phoenix blockchain.
And I would actually recommend, to the question about the holding it on the CEX, probably just move it to your MetaMask or whatever wallet you use, and then if you wanted to go back afterwards, after the airdrop happened. So again, we'll give you a little bit better timeline once we're closer, but in the next, let's just say 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
I think. But we'll be putting stuff out.
Strictly from a branding perspective, this is going to be really good in the long run, because we often get questions like, why is your governance token for your blockchain not on your blockchain? So that's going to be straight. The branding is all going to be similar. We're still touching on the logo stuff a little bit, but you're going to be able to look at it and know immediately, like, oh, this is the governance, this is the blockchain. It's just going to clean up everything a lot. So it's going to be really good going forward. We just got to figure out the math on it.
Yeah, and this is months in the works. So we've tossed up the idea of multiple governance tokens. Unfortunately, even then, trying to manage the separate communities and trying to bring everything together would have been probably a little bit of a headache. And then to keep separate duties between the governance tokens, how do you balance that? How do you make it equal? Those are the factors that kind of came into it, where, you know what, one would probably function better. And thank you, Mike, since you are here. I think he was one of the partners that was pushing for that. There's other partners that have been expressing that. Community members have expressed, well, you know, what are the functions of 2 or 3 governance tokens at that point? How do we even vote, and how is it fair? We're still working on the model as far as, is it weighted, all this other stuff. So we will show a sneak peek, though, of what I think is one of the looks of it.
I love it. Also, for my nerds,
when you see this, love it.
What does that mean exactly? Are you throwing the table so the dice rolls?
I'm sure I have dice somewhere. Oh yeah, I actually do have a couple dice. Don't want to throw them though, because they are solid metal.
No.
Awesome. Now, do we want to move forward and hand the mic over to the Fate guys?
Yeah, I think we're good to go. If nobody has immediate questions while we're on the topic, we're good to go to the next part.
Cool. All right, Vlad, Gilded, who wants to, Nomad, who wants to hop on?
And Mr. to play.
I think we're all here. I'm not sure if I see Vlad. Not sure if Nomad's here, but yeah, glad to be here. I've kind of been enjoying the little bit of technical talk on the blockchain side of things. I'm just learning blockchain myself, so that's really helpful stuff. But we did just get back from our event at Vegas. I've been kind of reeling over. I haven't even slept much. I've been working on presentations because we've got basically a week lined up of meetings from the event. So that's all really, really great stuff. I wish I could talk about it, but I can't. I kind of have to I just want to, keep our eyes on the road and focus on what we're doing. But I think we've got some really, really great things coming down the pike that would probably bring a lot of visibility to the Phoenix blockchain as well. And I know you guys are just a new chain, and you guys are still figuring stuff out. And the other chains that we have are established, but I think that that's an interesting dynamic. From our perspective, it gives us insight into the operations of a chain that's more easily accessible than would otherwise be. Like I just can't contact Charles or CZ to find out what's going on with Binance. So in that respect, I feel like there's a lot of potential in us working together to sort out, figure out some of the nuances and problems in blockchain. And I think offering, your network a way to easily pay and have it compatible with the system that's kind of including every kind of currency in it is also kind of a decent approach. And I'm really curious as to what you guys are thinking and how if you guys have any ideas or suggestions or things that you might want to talk about.
The thing that I like the most about 3Pay is that it does tie into socials like how Venmo does. So if we pay a Twitch streamer to, here's 200 Phoenix to talk about Phoenix for a minute, then he can go on his socials and say, hey, here's the proof they paid me. So, it proves, validity, all that stuff. Oh, man, I love seeing our name up there on that website next to the big players.
Of course.
Fantastic.
Of course.
And also the user accessibility. It makes it a little bit easier to track something. It's not always easy to go to an Explorer for someone that's new and try to be like, okay, well, this transaction, and then what's the transaction hash? So this the user experience, I think, is going to be the key part of this.
Right, and that actually comes from my newness to blockchain. So I'm a designer and a developer for 25 years, but I've only been into crypto for the last year, and I still very much see things on the mainstream side of the fence. And coming into this, I was just blown away by how complicated things are. And if with 3Pay, I really you don't want to focus so much on the swap side of things. I know you're looking at Lucky Day there right now, but with 3Pay, we're really trying to focus on making crypto feel like money. That's why we went with the checkbook for the transactions and the payments, because we want to relate it to money, which is what people understand. They understand dollars and cents. They don't understand governance tokens and all these things that are associated with blockchain technology or transaction hashes. Just simple things like being able to add a memo for what you're paying for. These little things just seem to be missing in general when you talk about crypto and when you're learning about crypto. It's all kind of focused on the investing and the trading side. And we really want to focus with 3Pay. We want to focus on this is money, and this is what we use money for.
Can you also talk about your project that this all kind of came from Fate?
Yeah, so we've been talking about building a decentralized social media platform since August of 2021, July of 2021, and it's kind of evolved in a few different ways. We do have an early beta of frosting, but there's a very complicated process that's associated with how we're building it. Because it is going to be decentralized, and because we're trying to flip the mechanics on how the revenue is distributed. So, for example, Facebook generates $85 billion a year off of advertising and data. that translates into about 8 cents per user that they're making. So they're profiting 8 cents per day off of each of us. And each of us are paying on average about 22 cents a day for the cost of our device, the cost of our connection, and the cost of the power to keep that device connected. So we're trying to figure out mechanisms that we can that'll allow us to reclaim some of that value and have the people that are adding value to the system, i.e. the users and content creators, actually be the ones to benefit the most from the system. And that's all going to be done through blockchain and through crypto. So the Fate token is the current trading token that's going to be the currency of the ecosystem. And then on Frosting, as a point structure, it's called karma. And karma and fate are kind of the same. They have the same meaning in a lot of ways, according to the dictionary source. So they're kind of two sides of the same coin. So the spendable money is fate, but the points in the social network are karma, and you can both lose and earn both on both sides. So like if you put good into the world, for example, you can get good karma back, which can translate into fate, which is value that you can use to buy food or pay your bills. Author mark, as you see there, is about intellectual property, and like as you know, all of this content that we post, whether it's pictures of our family, whether it's videos that we create, music, artwork, all these things are, even our opinions, it's all intellectual property. And Facebook and these social networks, you know, they take some of those rights. In fact, most of those rights, the ones that make the money anyways, and we don't get anything for it. And Authormark and Frosting and 3Pay together are all about decentralizing yourself. It's all about helping each of us decentralize ourselves and reclaim the value that's being extracted from us, because right now it's just a one-way street.
I love that a lot. It sounds like you're trying to do with socials what Brave browser did for web browsing, I guess. That's really cool.
I mean, there's definitely some similarities. I think there's definitely a lot of differences, but you know, it's about empowering each of us, right? Because we treat the internet as this service or utility that we use, but really, ultimately, we're the product. We're the ones that are creating this. All of the biggest companies in the world, they don't get where they are without us posting the content to get them there. Without us creating the content, without us sharing the links. I mean, even when you drive your car has a Ford logo bolted onto the front and the back of it. So these big corporations lean on us to do all the legwork for them, make them all the money, but we don't get much of the benefit. So this is about flipping that script.
Love it. Hyperion, can you drop a link to their Twitter or something in the
Yeah, I'm going to drop a couple of links. I think there's actually a link tree here somewhere too. I think so.
Awesome.
We took down the link tree. I'm going to be switching it with a 3Pay page, obviously.
Yeah, you were mentioning that 3Pay is kind of like Linktree and socials, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it has an area where you can list your links, your social links, and you could actually have pay links too, so people can tip and buy you a coffee, or you can use it for fundraising, different things like that.
Yeah, so for example, for premium users, they can have their own little social account on FreePay, and they can share that link, and you can pay them. You can access their links. For example, if you go to freepay.to/Vlad, my name, you will see my Linktree page on FreePay. Exactly. So here you can either pay me or check my links or see my descriptions. Obviously, this is just like a beta phase. It's gonna look way more beautiful than
And
that, but
go ahead and hit the pay button, because the pay button doesn't actually pay until you've actually filled it out. So it just opens up the check.
And you can write me a description why you pay me for, and if you have a username, you will show me who I got that money from. So yeah, right now you don't see the settings, but if you open FreePay.to in a web-free browser, for example, Mozilla Firefox connected to MetaMask, you will see more settings.
Right.
Sorry, I saw there's a Steam integration. That's interesting. Can you talk about that?
That's because of me, because I'm a gamer and I love my Steam account, so I asked Gilded to do that for me.
So wait, how does that function then? Do you get Steam funds or
No. These are just links, right? It's a social tree. It's like a link tree. So these are just links to social profiles. So this is kind of a hub that you can put all of your links and all of your I guess your payment information, so that people can go there and get all your contact information and or send you money on any chain.
That's pretty cool. And then does the profile
And all the transactions are held together so in one place, so that you can see all your transactions on each individual chain.
is the profile linked to a specific wallet at that point, or
Yes. Yeah, you log in by connecting your wallet.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Social identity, like you said.
Yeah. And one more interesting thing about this is both FreePay and our website, everything that we are creating is made from scratch. So the websites that you're seeing are not WordPress, are not Wix. They are literally from scratch, from zero coding.
Yeah, we haven't forked anything. I've been a stickler for that, and I've had a lot of complainers from that over a while. But in the end, it's a much better result if you do the work and just create stuff from scratch, because you're getting exactly what you want at that point. If you fork something, as I'm sure your developers know, if you're forking something, you're kind of stuck with the logic that the original developer set in front of you, and you got to figure out, how to make what you want to work, and that's not always easy. Not that it's always easy to create stuff from scratch either, but at least if you create it from scratch, it's going to do exactly what you want, no more, no less. And I have a saying, which is never give Murphy more choices than he wants or than he needs. So, try to minimize what can go wrong. And, by doing it yourself and building this stuff from scratch, I'm able to understand exactly what's going on in any given scenario, fix what we need to fix pretty quickly a lot of times. It just gives us a lot of flexibility.
Emphasis on the no more, right? Sometimes things are embedded inside of whatever you forked from and you didn't know about it.
Oh, you don't know what kind of bloatware a lot of times if you use a library, you end up having this whole clump of code or functionality that you don't ever even use, and it's just bloating your application needlessly. Mm-hmm. One of the things you may notice right off the hop is how fast 3Pay is compared to most other DApps or dApps. The React library and Vue and all these, MVC libraries, they're slow. They render this stuff really slow. And users don't like things that are slow. You can ask Google about that. They've done years and decades of testing on that specific thing. Things need to be fast.
Every millisecond counts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we actually are pretty close to. We basically started our chain around the same time as you guys started the whole concept of Fate and 3Pay. So we're it's interesting that we found each other in this ecosystem, and it's just such a cool idea that both of our things basically began end of last year, and we've been building.
Yeah.
And to comment on building from scratch, if Rob was here, he would also say that he loves doing that. He built the airdrop bot from scratch. He built the duck hunt game from scratch. He's a fan of that as well. So something that I think you two would love to talk about.
The good thing about the bear market is that it draws the good projects together for good cooperation, and it kind of squashes out the bad ones.
Yep.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, it's not like I can just pick up the phone and call CZ and ask them a question about his blockchain. Where I feel like, even though you guys are new and you guys are building this stuff, it's the accessibility and the advantage for all of us to kind of learn from each other is something that we need to kind of take advantage of.
I think, John, did you have questions? You were excited about 3Pay.
Yeah, no, no questions really. I think we covered pretty much everything. But yeah, this is something we're heavy into. Been heavy into for probably about a year. Is finding a good solution like you guys are providing, because one of the biggest things I stress to our team is user-friendly integrations for onboarding. I always tell the story how in Los Angeles about a year ago, I was doing a lot of live promotions in person, which we're doing really well. But there was one big problem And the response was always, I know about Bitcoin, Ethereum. I really want to get involved in crypto, but it's confusing. I don't have a tech background, was always the response. And then now we're getting into multiple wallets. I basically had like banners and like all these like handouts, and then I would go down and explain it to them, and I would lose them on the third step. So, and that was huge problem. And I was like, man, this is like a really big problem.
It is.
And so exploring applications like you guys have and being able to onboard people seamlessly into platforms is huge. And it gets from my perspective, it gets highly overlooked, and it's something that, you know, within the next year or two is absolutely mandatory for all dApps if we want to be successful. It needs to be as user friendly, as seamless as possible, very easy and clean to understand.
I mean, it's something, like I said, I've been learning this stuff for the last year, and right out of the gate, it's something I noticed. And I had people that were, you know, they're curious as to what I'm doing, so they want to learn about blockchain. And I'm trying to explain this and teach this to them while I'm learning it too. And they can't even get past step one. Like, they can't get past setting up a Binance or crypto.com account, you know. And like, I'm trying to explain this stuff to them as I'm learning, but over the course of the year, and I'm learning more, I'm still seeing both sides of that fence. Like, I'm still seeing it from the perspective that I did a year ago. And like, just the way that we look at it is, if you start with the hardest part of onboarding, which is these on-off ramps, the setting up your Binance account, understanding these wallets, and you know, crypto.com, all these things are, you know, it creates such a barrier to entry. Okay. And most people don't even get through that process.
Yeah.
So this kind of flips this and makes it just about, okay, the best way to get into, like, what we say is the best way to get into crypto is to get paid in crypto, right? So just get your basic MetaMask set up, get it connected to 3Pay, and start letting people send you money in crypto. Once you have money in crypto, and it either pops or goes up, I mean, there's going to be a point where you're going to accumulate in where it's going to be worthwhile now to take the time. They're going to figure out how to get the money in. Whereas you're not guaranteed that them going in. So when they're signing up, they have to go through this huge, complicated process. They get frustrated. They give up. If they got $20,000 on the other side of that, they're not giving up on that process, right? So they will complete that process. So we're flipping the onboarding, and rather than kind of showing people the investment side and all the complication and the exchanges and the dexes and charts and all, I mean, not everybody's going to be a day trader, man. It's not going to happen. So we have to, if we expect crypto to be mainstream and we expect it to be money, we have to approach it like that, and we have to put the utility, the currency first as the onboarding mechanism. And I really think that with the checkbook and just the simplicity of, like you said, of everything, you know, I really try to drive that home more than anything.
And you chose a good spot too to start in the socials, where people are already looking for something like this and more information. That's a great way to start, because then you link yourself. Hey, check out my profile on 3Pay. Send me a
Here's
tip
the flips. Here's something on that too, because the interesting aspect of that is the fact that all these social platforms, they all have thresholds for people to start making money. Meanwhile, these companies are banking the entire time, serving up ads and everything else, right? This gives these users a way to make money out of the gate without any thresholds, right? We do have tiers, but there's a referral program, right? And that referral program, so people that if you send somebody a payment page and that person connects, and it's the first time that they've connected, they connect and pay you, and then later on sign up for a premium account, you get a referral fee for that, right? You get 10%. And there's different tiers of that, but 10% is the floor. So from zero, a person can start making money with 3Pay just by onboarding people.
I like that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well,
I think we've talked about doing a Phoenix one.
It kind of reminds me of on a Brave thing. Brave
internet browser, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not pitching a token to sell either. That's important too. We're not like shilling a token. This is just about people realizing that crypto is money, and this is how you use it as money.
giving
on
an
my,
alternate payment gateway.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just checking Unity News, and the new article right now is cryptocurrency coming to your credit cards, and it's talking about it says cryptocurrencies are risky funding immediately. However, card firms together, Visa, MasterCard, or betting crypto will at some point be routinely used for regular purchases, meals, garments, aircraft tickets. So they're going heavy into it too because they see the big picture of it, of having that ability to onboard people and be able to use it seamlessly as digital currency. It's the real deal.
It's the real deal for sure. It is 100%.
I think one of the big things too I was going to ask about. So, how many blockchains are on there currently? 7?
9. 9.
9 blockchains.
You guys are the 9th, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, I think, one of the things is when people on board, they're using Prepay and they have the 9 blockchains. Just having Phoenix being able to have some type of kind of like tutorials, learning like what is Phoenix about, because it is confusing when you are using these integrations, these payment integrations. It's a lot of information to digest, but having something where it's like, this is Phoenix blockchain, this is what they do, this is what they're all about, but where it's very simple. It's almost like reading like a kid's book type deal.
Yeah.
Where it's very clear, concise, is going to be important too. Learning, educating.
Yeah, there's a whole academy that we're working on. Part of it is up, but that it doesn't look anything like what I want it to look like. We want to have video tutorials. We want to have a lot of great content and laid out in a very slick and easy to use way. So there's still some work to do on that. But the academy side, we could definitely have links to information about Phoenix. We could point to your websites, things of that nature. That's definitely something that we can incorporate.
Awesome. While we're chatting here, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to either hop on or drop them in the main chat. I like what you're saying, though. Sorry.
I was just going to say, those extra tutorials, we're actively working on stuff where we would be posting on more Medium articles and more how-tos. We're working on creating more video things that could be a little bit more streamlined for users to use Phoenix. And I see that there are spots in the academy where we could probably fit together.
Speaking of that, I'm glad, as we work together, like this is something we both are prioritizing. Right now, I'm just trying to, because we've all done the mediums, we've all done like basically the normal platforms to educate. But I really want to find like the most modernized new platform to do that, to utilize for us. I don't know if you guys have any like new like platforms, apps that we can use to develop these educational pieces, these learning that we can incorporate into our sites. Maybe even obviously you have YouTube, but is there something better than YouTube?
It's interesting because what I could do is I could make elements of the academy embeddable, just like we do with our swap and payments. So anybody that wants to embed kind of have this easy crypto kind of guide to embed into their website, to go along with their payment link or their payments, because that's probably a good idea, right? So we could do that, and that would allow you guys to embed the same. So we all kind of be utilizing the same libraries and the same information as far as you guys could style it however you want, of course, and have it incorporate into the look and feel of your websites. But you could actually embed the data into your page and embed all the information.
So would that also be done through let's say you're connecting through the wallet in order to access your profile? In that sense, you would embed, or you?
No. That part would be a different integration. That part would just be like your website. You would go in and you would paste the code that would have nothing to do with your wallet, because this is all just information, right?
I gotcha.
But like, for example, there's a little a lexicon that you can search to find like crypto words and try to figure out what things mean. we want to have a full glossary of those so you can just read it as well rather than be able to search specific ones. I'd like to have the kind of an app launch pad or a kind of an app store kind of a feel to a lot of the links and trusted sources, and really have a really good collection of the most, the most trusted and safe sources for people to connect their wallets to. So that we become a portal for people when it comes to this stuff, right? And that'll give us a lot of leverage in a lot of ways, as far as being able to promote different things on different, on the Phoenix stream, for example, or with different partners, different promotions. But yeah, we want to create a really solid educational portal that's nothing to do with your connecting your wallet, but it's just we could definitely make that embeddable so that anyone could kind of add that. If you're adding the payment link to your website, for example, or embedding it into your website, into your store, you want to educate your customers about crypto too, potentially. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I like
really
what
cool.
you guys have going on. I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna help a lot of different industries because there's just not wide enough support for crypto payments yet. Like, you can see any project that will say, hey, you can use our token or coin to pay for this, but there's not a lot of payment providers out there.
Right.
And
to be fair, there's still not. But like we're literally going businesses to business, giving them brochures, setting them up with wallets and stickers to stick on their windows that say, we accept crypto, and trying to push that narrative, right? This is money. This is like, it reminds me of when I first started building websites, and we're trying to sell websites to customers. And you're talking about early 2000s, right? So, convincing a business that they even needed a website was a task. They didn't think they needed one. They had a Yellow Pages ad. That's all they needed, right? People wouldn't connect their credit cards to the internet back in those days because it was all a scam. They didn't trust it. So if this all sounds familiar, it's because it is. This is part 2. And once you identify that, and it's just a matter of making businesses realize there's no reason you can't accept this. You're crazy not to accept this. This is money.
Yeah.
Right? And you could get paid one day, you could get paid $100 at the B&B, and the next day have it be worth $150. You're crazy for not wanting to do that. And if we make it as simple as that, we should be able to get them on board. And again, they don't have to worry about the complicated stuff until after the fact. And at that point, they're going to be well motivated to get their money out.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it's leaps and bounds above trying to put in 26 to 42 characters for a wallet that you're sending to. Instead, you just put in the social profile that's already created. Right?
Can you guys integrate into mobile apps currently?
The only way that we can integrate into mobile apps, the only way we can do that right now is through Wallet Connect. And I personally don't think we should be use Wallet Connect. We're not using Wallet Connect right now. This is all completely built off of the Web3 standard, and I want to keep it that way. If anything, we'll end up building our own Wallet Connect. We've got a hardware side that we're working on, which is kind of intertwined with that, called PhiBuddy, which is decentralized hardware, which is going to take this whole DApp browser versus regular browser part of the equation completely out. So now you can interact with any browser on any device, on any screen, and deal with your Web3 transactions, all through your decentralized hardware, which is air-gapped and under your full control. It's your wallet. But that's something that's fairly out there. I don't want to put necessarily a timeline on it. We'll be prototyping it over the next year. It will be in some people's hands over the next year or so. But depending on the supply chain, availability on it is kind of questionable on how many we can actually make. And the cost, of course. So that part is still in development, and there's still a lot to do there. But that's where this is going, because when you talk about the social networking side of things, or any DApp to that matter, we're all kind of locked into this this kind of tiered centralization aspect, right? Where, you know, we're stuck inside MetaMask. MetaMask is stuck inside the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and they're beholden to Apple and Google, and we're beholden to them. So as dApps for anything, whether it's 3Pay, Frosting, whether it's any dApps that you guys build or the next guy builds or any of these metaverse games, we're all going to have this this problem down the road, where one small change from Apple could trickle to Trust Wallet, which has already happened, right, and cause a lot of iPhone problems, a lot of frustration. I mean, these things are gonna most app, you know, they're gonna happen. Sorry, they're gonna happen. I mean, Google and Apple are self-interested. They're not going to look at the best deal for all of us. They're going to look at the best deal for them, and they're going to work it so that they're making most of the money off of this through their devices, through their app stores, right? So we got to keep it in a browser, right? We got to build browser applications.
Interesting.
You know,
that's an interesting topic, because that's something that so on our iOS version of ROI Pay, we have the DeFi web browser. But I've been on Android. We're trying to, well, we are, a lot of the applications, the features are directly integrated into the wallet, which is a problem for Apple. They're not up there. They hate third-party integrations. But we do have the DeFi web browser, and you're talking about how that's what you prefer, is the ability to have that web browser and access, have a wallet connect feature to the actual dApp versus a direct integration.
Well, if you're talking about decentralized, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the, you know, your keys, your wallet, if you're talking about the truly decentralized, I mean, businesses building on platforms that are beholden to MetaMask or to Apple or to any of these big companies, they're defeating themselves, right? I mean, they're hoping that Apple or Facebook or these big companies don't change their policies that affect their revenue, and that happens all the time. To be clear, developers are always impacted by changes and updates to policies by Apple and Google and whatnot. I personally went through the whole process of developing an application for iOS and for Android. I spent a year developing it. I had it done. It worked, but my business model did not jive with Apple or Google. I mean, Google allowed some flexibility, but I mean, our business model was fishing tournaments, and we pay out 70%, and our revenue is 30%. So we can't afford to give up the only 30% that we make back to Apple just because they got to make their cut. We'd have nothing left. So I had to go completely web-based, and I was actually pleasantly surprised at how deep I could make and how robust I could make an application via just a web application. So you can do a lot with web applications, and in using web applications, you're more decentralized than you possibly could be. The only part is that these browsers are all standardized around WebKit, so there's still that aspect in particular. So they could do something to the engine to break Web3 or to break this stuff. But as it stands right now, that's not the case, and I absolutely would prefer to do everything in the browser.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now you're making me think I have to go back and circle back about my approach to Apple and the ROI Pay integrations, because they're pending right now. You know, instead of, we're basically doing direct integrations versus relying on the DeFi web browser. But I mean, I think what you're saying is very valid. I just never thought of it in that manner.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a growing problem, and it's only going to get worse the more of these dApps that are built, right? Because we're all kind of beholden to somebody. Yeah,
because theoretically, if like for MetaMask and ROI Pay, we have the web browsers, so we're not necessarily reliant on the integrations, direct integrations within the app itself, because of like what you said, they could come down and be like, you have to take that down now. Or you have to remove that integration, the API integration, whatever. But if your application, your app is has, you know, as many features as possible as far as utilizing the web browser aspect and the wallet connect, you're kind of autonomous to some degree. You're not too reliant.
Well, you got to be
there's really
careful
not
with
much
the
that can
term
take
Wallet
away.
Connect because we don't actually use Wallet Connect. That's a
Yeah.
branded API. We actually just we've written code to connect to your wallet via just the Web3 standard spec, right? So it's a raw connection. There's no middleman tracking the data, right? We don't know how much data Wallet Connect is collecting about the users that are connecting their wallets from all the different dApps around the internet. So this completely isolates it so that you're only sharing information with 3Pay. And even the password system that we have is kind of unique. We haven't really disclosed much about it or talked much about it. And it's not like a sexy feature, so to speak. But the fact of the matter is that the way that when you set a password through 3Pay, it doesn't actually transmit your password over the internet. And I'm not going to explain the technicals of it, but it in most cases, your password is being transmitted, albeit SSL encrypted. It's being transmitted and posted to Facebook, to Google, to these services. So they do know your password. And the problem with a lot of these hacks, with a lot of companies, is that they don't end up encrypting passwords in some tables. This would prevent that entirely from happening. So. I really put a lot of thought into the whole how do we decentralize ourselves? We say that a lot. This is the thing that the utilities that we're building are all about helping us all decentralize ourselves, right? Because the problem is all of these platforms, they create what they call services around the fact that for any of us to post something to the internet and get a message out there, none of us have, or I shouldn't say none of us, but most of us don't have the technical knowledge to make our own websites and make our own applications and be able to post videos and live stream and things like this. So we need businesses to build this stuff, or we need corporations to build this stuff. That's fine. But once it's built, these systems are very, very, very low cost, right? So in some cases, absolutely free. It's just code. Right? It can be repurposed over and over and over at literally no cost. So, but yet they still milk that and create the situation where they're just extracting value constantly out of every single one of us, and they're bombarding us with ads, and they exploit our connections. I mean, you could turn all your settings down on your mobile phone, and they will still serve you a higher resolution ad with a higher volume than the content that you're actually trying to view. Right? They don't care about your connection. There's no consideration. There's no benefit. I mean, they're squeezing out as much as they can out of you. So, and all these platforms all do the same thing to a degree. So we're trying to figure out ways to build tools that we can literally just kind of open to the wild and let people just utilize a decentralized way that lets them reclaim that value back, or at least in part extract some of that value back to themselves, to help pay for your connection, to help pay for some of your bills, or to help feed you.
I love what you guys have going on. Yeah, sorry for the silence. I'm just taking it all in right now.
Yeah, I think all of us are like, whoa.
No, it's excellent vision, and yeah, a lot of it, I agree, does come down to the businesses have to want to utilize it and have to build things out. Like, at the end of the day, that's the big holdup with all of crypto. Like, as much as I dislike a lot of the bigger companies in crypto, like the VCs, the giant capital firms, and I mean even down to Coinbase, like as much as I dislike them, the adoption is helping. I mean, since I've been in since 2014, like seeing things the way they are now, just with how many businesses are starting to accept crypto. I mean, like something I'm working on right now as an example, Shopify's working on, or not working on, you can literally set up mint sites on Shopify right now, and there's some other fun things that I know a few people are working on that I can't share, unfortunately, even though they're really friggin' cool and I want to share them with every fiber of my being. But seeing these massive corporations that already have huge standings and customer bases was losing my
Yeah.
words there. Seeing them actually start adopting even the most minuscule bits of crypto as a whole is phenomenal, and then being able to bridge that gap with new payment systems is even better.
Absolutely.
And
I also like
it's
what you were
definitely starting
saying,
out.
how you were, I like how you were saying you're just like putting boots on the pavement and getting like local places to use it, because I think half of the economy is like small businesses. So like if you can get
Absolutely.
Chinese boutique to
It
use
is the economy. It is the economy. If you take small business out of the equation, there's nothing left. Big business will collapse. Everything else will collapse. There's nothing left. Small business holds up the economy. That's been a known fact for a long time. Despite the big box stores, putting small businesses out of business, it's still a fundamental part of the economy in every part of the world. More so in the developing part of the world. Yeah, Amazon can't function with it.
Right.
That's right. That's absolutely
How
right.
do you approach, like, how are you approaching the small businesses? You're talking about brochures. You seem to have experience with this.
It's definitely not my first go around. I've done this a number of times throughout my life, but basically we're going around with a kit, and it's kind of like an intro kit to crypto, into 3Pay, and to how to easily get set up. I mean, I can go into a store with 3Pay, and I can have somebody set up and accepting crypto payments in 5 minutes. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Like it's so easy to explain this at this point. We don't have to talk about the investments. We don't have to talk about the trading or the different DEXs or exchanges or off ramps and on ramps or FOMO and FUD and any of that stuff. What we need to talk about is you're selling that for X amount of dollars, and I have X amount of dollars right here. See, I can show you because I can pull that over to my bank account, and there it is. So it's still money, and you're a fool for not accepting it. I wouldn't call them a fool, but the pitch is that there's no reason to not accept this. Right? We're not talking about selling you shit coins. We're not talking about the whole NFT side of things. I mean, we do have some NFT integrations that are coming, but even that is not going to be the same as what we're seeing currently. So we've got a completely different take on NFTs.
What do you find when you're doing that? What do you find to be the most benefit as far as I'm talking about the materials you have, like you have a brochure, whether you're using your website, like what are they understanding, or how are they receiving best?
Right. So the first thing is like you have to look at it from the perspective of Visa, MasterCard. What do those guys do? Right? They got their little terminal they got their little terminal that you tap. They got the sticker in the window, right? So our kit that we want to give businesses is we want to give them an easy to use system that they can just stick to their wall and have people pay for products. Whether we're talking about price tags on items, they can go around the store adding stuff to their cart, and then they could just hit pay. Right? Mm-hmm. There's a store demo where you can go in and you can add stuff to cart. There's also a QR code scanner which also scans barcodes, like just normal barcodes. So it could be compatible with just your typical inventory, where a user could go into a store and just point their phone at various objects that they're purchasing, add it all up, and pay. Right, all within their own phone. Now I'll give you another example of that. Right, that's kind of different, but seems a little out there. But when you really think about it, it's not. So again, I talked about my fishing business and the fishing tournaments. I had a car I called One for Trump, which was this car that was all done up. It had cartoon fish over it, and we drove around lake to lake holding fishing tournaments. Okay. Now, if we do the same thing with a Brinks truck, literally a bank truck, 3Pay, QR code, build an ATM directly into the damn truck, have it as a mobile hotspot to go around at different events and act as a booth and promotional vehicle for both crypto and payments in general. I mean, now you're talking about making an impact and really impressing and getting the attention of a lot of the small businesses and people that we're talking about, right? Showing them actual examples physically of what we're doing and what we're using it for. There's no better way to sell something than to show how it works, right? So if we show up with our kit, and that's a brochure, that's decals, and this whole process that we can show you within 5 minutes on how you can accept crypto payments for your products. And it's all there for you to see working. You know, it's pretty compelling, I think.
So I just posted that pic. Is that okay that I posted that?
That's
You
fine.
had that in the initiative. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because that you were talking about it. That's such a cool picture. It's a cool idea.
I mean, it's a little out there, and I'm not saying we're doing it. We're doing it tomorrow, but I really am taking it more and more seriously. And if you look at my history and you look at the things I've done in the past, well, you know, I don't want to drag all that stuff out, but I've got a history of this kind of thing. So I mean, it's so in line with the way I see this kind of guerrilla marketing, getting it in front of people and trying to stand out.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, now Tien asked a question. I will basically, can you go over the way the fees are going to work? I know you have plans already. Who's paying? Is it the customer? Is it the shop?
Yeah. So yeah, we can. So the we're going to have incredibly low fees compared to everybody else. There will be fees. Currently, there are no fees. Everything is just peer to peer. And we're doing that to help speed up the onboarding process. But we will introduce fees at some point. And they're going to range from anywhere from 0.5% to 1% tops for peer-to-peer transactions. For businesses that are selling stuff in the actual store, stuff that we're promoting, stuff that's listed on our site, those businesses will pay 1.5%.
Still tiny compared to credit cards, right?
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even with the gas included.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing because, from my background with
right, even if you include the gas, it's still the fees are still lower than anybody else.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So, like a little extra background, I used to, when I was younger, I used to manage a coffee shop. It was a small business, but we always
love coffee.
Oh yeah, if you ever want to look it up, bluemountaincoffee.org or .com. Well, I'll have to find the link. Best coffee I've had in my life, run by a phenomenal.
Don't you still order from them?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I still stay in touch with the owner and his wife because they were like pseudo parents to me for a bit. But when I was running the shop, most of the days I would end up running it on my own because the owner was or is, I think he's like 75 or 80 now. 75, 80-year-old Jamaican man that just, it was nap time, he's going home, I'm running the shop the rest of the day, but I would always pay attention to which transactions we were taking in store because whatever agreement we had with the card processor wasn't the best, and so it ended up eating into the profit margin a good bit if we were doing a lot of credit card transactions a day instead of cash or even check for that matter. So seeing an alternative to something like that, as somebody who used to run a small business, I absolutely love that because even, let's say, the card processing, and I can't remember what it is because this was 7 years ago. Let's just call it 10 cents per transaction, and you're doing 200, 300 transactions per day. That adds up really quickly. So the more you can put in any individual business's pocket for their growth is phenomenal. Like even if it's, let's say they save $3 at the end of the day, multiply that by 365, that's well over $1,000 that they just got back in their pocket by utilizing a different payment processing platform.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm really going to stress with businesses too is, although the focus is not on investments, the reality is that if you accept your payments, say you want to only accept stablecoin, you only want to accept stablecoin that's pegged to fiat because that's what you're comfortable with. Well, you might want to say, well, let me keep 60% of it, or at least keep the cost of it in stablecoin, and let the profits ride in with the markets. That's probably a pretty decent play because you're kind of benefiting from both sides. So, you know, there's lots of ways to kind of pitch this to businesses and make it practical and useful for them. Show them that how easy it is, how low cost it is, how beneficial it is. And now, you know, basically since we hit this event, I mean, the boots are on the ground. It's time to hit the ground and start showing people this thing We haven't been trying to hide it, but at the same time, we haven't been trying to grow it. And we've just been kind of building it internally in the community. And, it's pretty exciting times.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see what you guys do next.
Lots of stuff. All right. Now, do you want to? Is there anything you want to add to that, or are we ready for me to bring it home?
No, you can bring it home, man. I think we're good, unless you guys have any more questions.
No, thank you for coming. This was very informative. I was taking notes in my head, and I will be rewatching this for sure. This is wow.
Awesome. All right.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you all again next week for episode 13 of our weekly broadcast. Wishing every member of the family a fantastic week, and we'll see you in chat.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone.